On the chat today, we have the one and only Graham Vaughn. The thing is, people are accustomed to hearing Graham's voice, but now we get to see and hear.
Right. So as I
Hmm.
was saying, I pulled into I almost said Big B, Massey Worthing. Those of a certain age would understand why that mistake was made. But yes, Massey Worthing. And I saw when this gentleman in the hired car, he let out three able-bodied ladies, one with a toddler. And then he parked in the spot and you know, indicated to be able-bodied himself. So I asked him if he had his badge, his sticker. And he said, no, I ain't got no badge or sticker. I asked him if he would move. Well, I hear because toddler, I got a toddler and thing, a baby. I said, yes, but the spaces, even if the spaces were designated for that cause, and I do believe that supermarkets and well, parking spaces should be left for people travel with small children, because anybody that has had children and small children had to deal with the paraphernalia for these children and taking them in and out of vehicles knows you need your own space. So I have no problem. In fact, right after that, on the other side of me, a lady part with a small child, and I said, it's quite okay. I understand. You can stay. And she, but she part there without the person for whom the stickers say, but she part there because she had this small child to have to maneuver out of the car with. And I have no problem with that because I think there's no space allocated for her, but she did need the space,
And
the
there's
room to
spaces like
do that
that overseas because you see some of them part like
overseas.
pregnant women and stuff like that.
I'm hoping that we do get to the place where we make allowances for
Provide
those,
that.
because at the end of
Yep,
the
I
day,
agree.
it's just about being kind. It's just
Hmm.
about acknowledging and understanding there are difficult situations for people, and we're going to try our best to make sure that people are able to that we've put in place something that makes it a little easier on people in these difficult situations to be able to maneuver and to
Yeah.
carry on their lives. Because somebody said, uh, in a discussion I had on Down to Brass Tacks earlier this year about
Hmm.
disability, someone said, we just want to be able to have, and I said, no, it's not even that. It's simply about living. We want to have the same privilege to live with dignity that the regular able-bodied person has. And therefore, don't put me into a position where if you can get out between a very narrow space and that sort of thing, please don't I can do that and push me into having to do that where if I'm getting out with crutches or something like that, or even a wheelchair, I am stuck. I am completely unable to do anything. You haven't made allowance for me. And that is something I think that that's the point. It's about dignity of life. It's about allowing that person to live with a certain level of freedom. Okay. And you enjoy your freedom, please let these people enjoy theirs. Uh, one of the gentleman maintained that he wasn't going to move. He maintained that he wasn't going to think, and my wife had to go and get one of the security people to come and speak to him. And I don't even think he moved them because I think the women came back out and got in the car, and that's when he left and that sort of thing. But these people, there are people who insist they're not going to do it according to the rules that society has decided apply to these things. The last episode I'm going to share with you was at Chanel in Colorado, and they have one space. It's one
Big Car
space,
Park
but
is
it's
claustrophobic.
tiny, it's titchy.
Yeah.
So I am grateful as anything, and if they do see this, please understand I am extremely grateful that some of the space to have one space. Isn't a perfect space, but you've made the attempt, and I am grateful.
Thank you, Chanel. Thank you.
Yep, I turned up, and there was a work van, a panel van in the space, and they got out and took pictures of the uh with the uh name of the company and that sort of thing in it. And I went inside and asked if they knew because I figured it might be there to do a delivery or something like that. And I asked them, they didn't know anything, but by the time I had gotten what I needed to get and I came out, I saw three or four gentlemen getting into this van, right? All thing in the front. And like a work crew. So I spoke to the driver's seat and said, uh, how come y'all are parked there? And there was a back and forth with some really laughably ridiculous comments on the gentleman's part. But the last thing that happened that he said, but I disabled. And I said, you're disabled? He said, yeah, I just ain't got my tag, did my work van, I left my so I was trying to say to him, all you need to do then is make sure you bring the disabled tag with you, then nobody's going to say anything to you. But instead of listening to me say that, his
Mhm.
response was, uh, I could come and show you, I could come and show you. No, when I had to park, I parked next to the same space. And I parked in such a way because I needed space to get out on my side. I parked in such a way that there was very little space on his side. So in order to go through that same narrow space, that narrow opening that I talked about earlier, and he could do it. And he was willing to get out, and he did, to come around my vehicle to show me that he is disabled. Now he got out and he walked around the vehicle, okay, without any aid, and held at his pants leg to show me a scar. It looked like a surgical scar. Okay. Now I didn't get into a competition with him, right? Because I've got 8 times the scars he has, you know. Whole point was not about whether or not he's got 1 or 8 scars or 10 scars or a million. Okay. The point was, does he need the space?
Yeah.
And he didn't. He didn't. He was able to get out and walk around and show me. And he goes back and gets in, and he's quite happy and he can do whatever he likes. You understand? Whereas
Mhm.
I had to put him into a difficult way to get into his vehicle because I needed the space to my right to open my door fully to get out.
Yeah.
And he's grinning at me. He's laughing at me. I disabled leg come and show you. Really?
That's
I
so
mean,
sad.
I'm a Christian. I'm
Hmm.
and God has his hands on my heart. But he comes into my face to show me and Christian or not, we're human.
Yeah.
And I really, really wanted to punch him. And I didn't. And I'm proud of myself for not doing that. But how are you going to make this? And literally the only reason to do this
Hmm.
is because you are defending the indefensible. You're trying to find a way to explain why what I have done is okay. yes. So the problem is that if we are finding ourselves having to explain why what I did was right, we
Mm,
usually are not. It's usually an indicator that we're not right.
yeah.
And he was not. And he was trying to defend the indefensible. And the whole point is, especially when caught in situations like that, and speaking as somebody who has done it in the past,
Hmm.
myself in other situations, uh, you know you're caught, you know you're wrong, and you're just trying to throw up a smoke screen so that nobody comes down on you. And that's not what we need. We need, instead of throwing up a smoke screen, we need to do what other people have done in the past when I've spoken to them and say, oh, sorry, boss, I can move. I remember a Rasta that I saw. I stopped at um I can't remember what was the name of the place at Pilgrim Road.
Hmm.
Pilgrim Road, one of the businesses on Pilgrim Road. I think it was Carter's. And I stopped there. They have two spaces around the back. And when it was coming out, a gentleman, a Rasta, came in and parked next to me. And I spoke to him and he huffed and thing. But he said, all right, got in the car and he moved. And I said, thank you.
Hmm.
Because you never know. You came and found me. And yes, I'm leaving, and there will be a space then after I leave, but you don't know how many disabled people are going to turn up.
Exactly.
And there's more than one time. I think Sheraton probably is the place that has the most spaces contiguously. They have five spaces in a row in the back by the cinema. And I have shown up there, and all five of those spaces have legitimately been taken up at the same time. There are disabled people out here. We move. We want to shop. We want to enjoy the cinema. We want to have life.
Yeah.
And you cannot therefore
And that's your right.
assume, well, yes, and therefore no one can assume that the entire disabled community is not going to turn up at the place that you've decided to park in, that because I get in there for 5 minutes, and a lot of times I show up, somebody's in the space, and by the time I've left, um they they're still there.
They're still there.
I had to go someplace else and walk a little further or do whatever to come and do my business, and I've left and they're still in the space, still occupying it. Uh, and it is I laughed because I have stopped posting uh for the last couple months. I just, I suppose I just got frustrated and I just didn't bother. But it was an entertaining situation at Manor Lodge that is entertaining from the point of view of looking back and seeing the irony of it. I think God just showed me to show, this mentality and sinful nature is not limited to one strata or one section of society. Because I showed up uh to use the ATM at the credit union,
Mm.
and there's a space just obliquely opposite the ATM. And the first time I showed up, it was occupied by, I guess, a carpenter's vehicle. This old rundown station wagon. And he's got wood sticking out of the side of the thing. And this is a work vehicle. And of course, there's no badge up to show I'm disabled or anything like that. He's occupying the space. And I took the picture and I never posted it. And I went back there, I think the same week. And instead of a rundown beat up station wagon, there was an SUV with CD plates in the space. So everybody does it. It doesn't matter. I it doesn't matter their position, their status in life,
Yeah.
whatever. Uh the lack of empathy, nobody's immune to it. And my plea is for not even for myself, because I am getting better. And if it ever becomes possible, I would love to have the disabled thing removed from my ID and,
Hmm.
just go back to being normal, regular, average old Graham Vaughn.
Yeah.
That is highly unlikely. More than likely, I will have this appended to me for the rest of my life. But it's not even for me. It's for the people who have never had what I used to have. I have a very good friend, Nikita. I would love for her to see this. No, I love her very much. She has always been a support to me on the air. Always been a lovely person. She came to my concert, my benefit concert. We have pictures of us in our matching wheelchairs. So you understand it.
Mhm. Freeze again. If you can hear me.
Stop. Yes, you stop.
Me?
Yes, we have pictures in our matching wheelchairs, and
Mhm.
but the problem is that she was born with her disability. She has never had the opportunity to go riding a motorcycle like me. She's
Mhm.
never had the opportunity to do bungee jumping or a whole bunch of other things that we enjoy and take for granted. She doesn't go up to rally and watch the cars spin and go around.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she's ever ridden the rides at a fairground at Coney Island when it came here or anything like that.
Mhm.
She has lived her life inside the limit disability imposes on her. And I find it most despicable, absolutely horrific, and tear jerking to think that somebody would reduce her even more by not allowing her the little bit uh space that society has carved out for her and said, look, we will consideration, a little bit of consideration that society has allowed for people with these situations. Somebody would take it away from her. And the people born blind, the people who I know a lady, she's been blind since I think it was she says 6 or 7. She's in her 60s now. How are you gonna do that to that person? And it comes back, we come full circle back to where I started. We have no empathy. We have and empathy is another word for love. It's an element of love. If you have no empathy, you have no love. And I don't mean that you have no love for that person. I mean you have no love. Because just like a good person, the description of a good person is someone who's always good. Always good. Person who has love always has love. I would not tell you I have love simply because I'm here speaking to you about this. Because the quality and the standard of love is God Himself, not us, not Graham begging for people not to park in disabled spots. That's not the standard. The standard is God Himself, who recognizes in each person and is so loving that even when we do these things, He allows us space and time. It doesn't name the last person you know that got smite. He
Mhm.
doesn't do it.
Mhm.
we 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 may get into accidents and such like, but those are not situations where God has hit us with something because you bad behave or whatever.
Yeah.
Those are consequences of our actions. Those are consequences of our decisions to do certain things. But He is really merciful, really loving, and he will place in us a heart of love and a heart that can empathize with each other if we would trust him, love him, and ask him to do it. And at the end of the day, that's the biggest message, because then you don't only leave the disabled spaces for those who need it, but you give to the poor. You bless those who don't have by supplying their needs. You are more loving to your family, your spouse, and you empathize with your mother. You're not rude to her. You understand?
I understand.
I'm talking about an entire life change.
Yeah.
And that's what we all need. And that's what I'm hoping that anybody who watches this and gets to this point of the video will ask God for, because he will do it if you ask him. He loves you that much.
Well, thank you, Graham. I mean, two words jumped out at me when you were speaking: kindness and dignity. And I think it is sad that people don't show more kindness as a norm, because sometimes is the exception. And with you and other persons within the disabled communities, not only in Barbados, but in the Caribbean, around the world, it's important, as you said, that y'all have that dignity to be able to live like anybody else. And all of us here, if we want it for ourselves, we should want it for others. So thank you. Powerful stuff. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
And I'm quite sure that you're going to be back again at some point on some other chat with me. I welcome that.
I am here. I'm available and willing.
Okay.
Thank you.
And thank you, Graham.
God bless.
And God bless you as well. So thank you for joining us today on the chat. And if you like our videos, subscribe to our channel so that you can receive that alert once we've posted another one to share with you. Until then, Perry out.